I'm consistently surprised and impressed by the works of Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Their style is hard to put in a box, but the quality of each of their feature films is undeniable, from R-rated comedies to all-ages family movies. There's a whimsy to everything they touch, as well as an emotional truth. They know how to work with actors in an out-of-the-box way. They excel at pushing the boundaries of animated film. Even when adapting an existing property, Lord and Miller's work is refreshingly unique. They turned a children's book with no plot into an animated disaster movie about a father-son relationship. They rebooted an 80s TV series into an R-rated action comedy about two best friends switching places in the social hierarchy. They made a compelling story about imagination and freedom from structure out of a feature-length toy commercial. They took Sony's desperation to make Spider-Man movies outside of the MCU and made a revolutionary animated feature, all about embracing your differences and defining yourself. The Han Solo movie sounded like a terrible idea on paper, but I genuinely believe that if Phil Lord and Chris Miller stayed on the project, it would have been better received. When I heard about each and every one of these films, I was certain that they wouldn't work. I rolled my eyes when they rebooted 21 Jump Street. I shook my head when I heard Sony was working on an animated Spider-Man movie. I thought these were all terrible ideas. And I was wrong. Phil Lord and Chris Miller made excellent movies out of each and every one of these ideas. How do they do it? Do they have a formula? How do they take what seems like a bad idea and turn it into a classic? I don't want to burst any bubbles, but there isn't a formula to make stuff the way Lord and Miller do. But I've found some of their methods really helpful lately. I recently finished university where I majored in English, which basically means that for a few years all I did was research and write about art. I can tell you firsthand that writing isn't pretty. Anyone who claims it isn't a grind is probably lying, or they don't write a lot every day. It can be fun sometimes, but it's work. A lot of the time, writing for me is like trying to reach out and connect a pair of dots that are on opposite ends of the planet. For every minute of uninterrupted typing, there's an equal amount of self-doubt and staring at a flashing cursor. I know I'm not alone because a lot of my writer peers echoed this feeling. There's an intimidation factor to every page, every sentence, that can be hard to shake. Lord and Miller aren't just writers though. They're a duo who wear many hats. They edit, they produce, they direct, they tell stories. They work in live action, animated TV, film. Lord and Miller tip number 1, wear many hats. Sometimes staring at the keyboard isn't the best way to break a story. One of the qualities of good stories is making strong connections that others don't see. If you've got more up your sleeve than just writing, you're more likely to see a story angle that nobody else does. What would this story look like in the edit? How would a specific performer deliver it? What might the cover art look like? For example, if you're stuck on your book, consider what might happen if you made one of the story beats into a short film. Now, I'm not saying turn all your work into a different medium. Just try on a different hat and explore your mind. Try to reframe the way you're writing by doing another task. Step away from the structure, away from the sentence on the page. Do what you need to do in order to look at your piece in a different light. You might find something you didn't expect, and that might solve your block. I think that a lot of people have this image of the writer as this solitary figure, at a keyboard or maybe a typewriter, sipping a dark liquor, dimly lit and up all night because the stories just never stop flowing. It's a romantic image, and maybe it does work for some people, but it isn't realistic for most of us. Again, look at Lord and Miller as an example. They aren't just a duo. They make an effort to collaborate with everyone on every single aspect of each project that they work on.
If we listened to crew members who had ideas and ones that felt like they fit in with what we were trying to accomplish, if we embraced those things, then it inspired everybody on the crew from any department to say, hey, I had this idea, or what if we did this? And the fact that people felt like they could flex their creative muscles and be heard made everybody excited that they were doing something that they could be proud of and that they felt like they could contribute and not just sort of be a cog.
Yeah.
Lord and Miller tip number 2. Collaborate. Your writing is not as precious as you think it is, especially if you're telling stories. Those stories exist to please others. Unless you're writing just to please yourself, your work cannot ring true to an audience if it was made in a vacuum. One of the things that helped me keep writing through 2020 was by writing with my peers. I was inspired by Lord and Miller's collaborative process, and my friends and I went ahead and started our own virtual writer's room. We get together on a regular basis, develop ideas, work through blocks, and hold each other accountable to getting words on the page. You don't need Hollywood connections or to come from an Ivy League school to be in a writer's room. You can be in one today. Find the Philip Lords to your Chris Miller, even if it's just one like-minded creative individual. It can be hard at first to share your work with someone and hear critiques, but keep in mind, people seeing your work is a key aspect of almost any art form. Try out suggestions, even if you might not agree. Your audience wants to experience a good story as much as you want to write one. The worst case scenario is that you learn that something specific doesn't work. The best case scenario is that you write something that connects with someone that you care about. If you write, you might have already found yourself full of story or writing ideas, but no clue how to execute on them. You've got this rich narrative and imagery in your head, but as soon as it's on the page, you hate it. What if I told you that's a good thing, actually? Lord & Miller, tip number 3. No bad ideas.
There's an open mode and a closed mode, and the open mode is where ideas flow. There's no bad ideas, and you're exploring in a very free and messy way.
In order to work better, you both need to be in the open mode at the same time. You both just have to commit to the fact that like we're not committing to anything right now. We're just gonna like chase this weird idea.
It is key to get as messy as possible during the early stages of your writing. Write whatever comes to mind when you start. In fact, personally, it helps me to actively try and write the worst possible thing when I start. You can only go up from there. Think of it like improv. Say yes and in that early development stage. Don't reject yourself or your writing team in the early stages. Nothing is perfect the first time around, so try to maintain an open creative space. Every painting starts as just a bunch of splotches on a blank canvas. Do not worry about the final product when you start. Just start. Even if you need to abandon sentence structure and spelling, forget about it all and just get something down on the page. The sooner you get your garbage writing out of your system, the sooner you can write your masterpiece. You can work it to perfection later, but you need to get that lump of clay on the wheel before you sculpt it. And if it's a complete disaster, good. Embrace that failure and learn from it.
Another failure!
That's failure number 5. This is failure number 4, 5, and 6. There's no overnight success. All of you have 10,000 bad drawings inside of you, and you need to get them out as fast as possible. which is basically that I think especially young artists need to be very prolific.
Lord & Miller tip number 4. Produce lots and often. Be prolific. While I sit here and praise their work, Lord & Miller described their careers as a series of failures. They embrace the process of trial and error as the learning experience that it is. There's this weird belief that a lot of people have, and that I myself found hard to shake. It's the idea that quality is better than quantity. I've heard a lot of people in creative communities who've echoed this sentiment, who have been working on perfecting the same project for a long time. It's as if every work has to be perfect before it's done. The problem is that there's only so much you can learn from a single work. You could spend a year making the perfect video, and only when it's out learn that nobody wants to watch it. Or you could make a less than perfect video every single week, get a little bit better every week, and figure out what exactly appeals to your audience. If you fail at one of these projects, guess what? It only took a week, and next week you can make a better one. Be prolific and always be iterating. Embrace every single failure. In fact, run headfirst into creative failures, because the sooner you bash your head into that failure, the sooner you'll learn how to avoid it. And don't just take it from me. Listen to Phil Lord and Chris Miller's BAFTA talk, as well as their interview with Roger Deakins. Both are full of great insights into their creative process. Links are in the description. That's all I got. Thank you, sincerely, for enduring my creative failures.